C'est bon, tout est bon pour ta jujube. Canal 1 pour la trad.
Oui, alors les messieurs s'inquiètent parce que comme le soleil est en train de se retirer...
Non, le soleil va partir vers l'extérieur.
Ah d'accord.
Il part vers l'extérieur.
Donc ils seront tous les deux...
Tous les deux dans l'ombre.
Dans l'ombre. C'est bien, vous connaissez?
Ouais, à force, oui.
À force. Ouais, c'est ce que je disais tout à l'heure.
28 ans au palais, donc ça
oui,
va.
Ah oui, quand même.
Non, le soleil se lève là le matin et après il passe derrière le bâtiment, donc on est toujours dans l'ombre là.
Ah d'accord, oui, c'est bien.
Yeah, I was going to. Do I need to go down and direct guys up, or will someone do that?
Direct who up?
Well, my guys when they get to like.
I think they'll have a protocol escort. Hello, hello. I'm one of the interpreters. We've got to get here. Are you interpreting into English or into French?
Well, both. The two of us, we're working both ways. Yeah.
Okay. I've just been in touch with Olivia about what the PM is likely to say. Can she pass that on to you?
No.
Let me show you then.
Oh, that would be brilliant if there's anything new. Are you with Ian or with...
Bonjour, je ne sais plus si nous sommes vus. Bonjour monsieur.
Je vais vous donner les deux casques.
C'est allumé, mais... Ah, alors...
Voilà. C'est en train... Non. Donc c'est la secrétaire de presse du Premier ministre qui est en train de m'envoyer ce qu'il va dire.
Ah,
donc, ça commence ici. Voilà, donc j'ai envoyé un... Oui, ça vient de... Bonjour, Laura Davis de l'ambassade. Donc, voilà. Donc,
si vous voulez,
ça va continuer, ligne à ligne, mais voilà.
Merci, c'est très gentil. Je recevais de notre protocole quelques éléments.
Oui, ben justement, mais en fait, il le griffonne à la main sur des petits bouts de papier en ce moment. Donc elle est en train de le faire là maintenant. Donc si vous voulez attendre un moment, et puis je reviens quand c'est...
Oui, c'est très gentil. Super, merci.
Sur le canal 2, si vous voulez vous isoler un petit peu du son.
Là, c'est la source.
Ouais, ça, c'est la source. Quelle qu'elle soit.
Quelle qu'elle soit, ça marche. Merci Thierry. Si tu veux être... Ouais,
il va dire, voilà.
S'il vous plaît.
Oui, bien sûr.
Là, c'est une question. Le soleil va partir vers l'extérieur. Non, il passe derrière le bâtiment. En fait.
Oui, c'est parfait.
Et puis sinon, j'ai aussi des phrases sur le Brexit que je peux vous montrer si c'est utile.
Ouais, volontiers.
Évidemment, il ne va pas dire c'est tout ce que je sais. Ça, c'était plutôt ma collègue.
Non.
Et puis donc, j'avais envoyé par texto. Voilà. Grosso modo, ce sera ça. On veut partir avec un accord. On se prêt à travailler avec beaucoup d'énergie pour trouver l'accord. Hier, Merkel était d'accord pour discuter. Mais si nous ne pouvons pas trouver un accord sans filet de sécurité anti-démocratique, nous partirons sans accord. En fait, c'est ce qu'il dit depuis longtemps, mais c'est pas tellement repris dans la presse française. En fait, ce qui est surtout repris, c'est le départ sans accord.
Est-ce que tu as des
C'est pour ça
informations?
que je voulais.
Là, il rouvre la porte.
Il dit bien que la porte est ouverte. Voilà, il veut absolument. Il va travailler avec beaucoup d'énergie.
Je te laisse. Donc, je fais le PR. Si tu veux, tu prends un casque si tu veux avant, sinon tu le laisses là. Tu laisses ton dossier ici, c'est comme ça. Et moi, quand j'ai fini, je prends ça et ça, je te... Et il y a une question. Quand tu seras en place, si tu veux, à la fin de l'été, moi je peux en face, tu peux quoi faire. Ouais. Ici le président Macron. Tu le fais. Oui. On reste ici. D'accord. Merci. Ouais. Et ça c'est on est sur le flair là, on va se dire. C'est le dos. Tous les orateurs qui étaient sur ça, c'est tous les orateurs. Le dos.
Oui, on est sur le même canal. Quand on travaille avec les bidules, parce que c'est compliqué, sinon ça fait sortir. On pourrait très bien travailler avec deux canaux avec ça. Après, au niveau de la presse, ça fait X boîtes de distribution derrière. Et pour eux, c'est un peu compliqué.
Et pour nous aussi, il faut changer. Et nous aussi, s'il faut qu'on change.
Ouais, en plus. Enfin, quoi qu'à la limite, on vous met deux pupitres avec chacun votre micro et chacun en sens que vous travaillez.
Ouais, non, mais c'est bon. Ok.
Ça va plus tard.
Sorry?
Il est ouvert pour toi, mais fermé pour nous aussi. Mais on a l'habitude, un peu pas. Arrivé où là? Là, je fais franchement
Minus. C'est un peu, ouais, qui nous laisse un peu l'espace.
S'il peut juste m'envoyer la photo.
J'ai l'impression qu'ils sont réglés très fort, mais puis quand toi tu pourras régler. C'est hyper cool.
Non, mais celui-là, il faut qu'on le garde en soi. Garde-le à l'avant.
Tiens, ça y est, viens ça.
Oui, j'ai l'impression. Là, il y a pas de j'ai l'impression que c'est une négociation sur les espaces à gauche. Là, les négociations, on a dit aussi.
cassé avec la main. Et là, quand tu l'as fait tourner, c'est pas rapide. On va vérifier s'il était bien voluminé, mais ouais, il était voluminé.
Anthony, il faut qu'on passe là. Je vais pousser. Non, ça va là, ça va. C'est bon. Je n'ai pas récolté. Par contre, il faut que tout ça. Je vais vous laisser une petite bulle.
Bonjour mesdames, messieurs. Je suis heureux de...
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm very pleased to be able to receive the Prime Minister, dear Boris Johnson, here today in Paris. Very pleased about your first visit to France since you took office. We had opportunities to talk on the telephone a couple of hours after you took office as Prime Minister, and I'm very pleased that today we have a chance to discuss more. Please allow me to say first and foremost that the relationship between our two countries is essential and immutable, no matter when and no matter the circumstances. It is the case in particular when it comes to foreign policy, defense, and your decision to come to Paris embodies the necessity of fostering this relationship, this privileged relationship. This relationship is anchored in a history, a long history. There are also treaties between our two countries which go beyond the European Union, and there are some genuine commitments and engagement in crisis, ongoing crisis we have to deal with together, like Iran, the Sahel, the fight against climate change, girls' education. The engagement of both our countries together has always been constant and remains essential. A few days ahead of the G7, our discussions will also enable us to closely coordinate on these matters. Of course, we'll also inevitably talk about Brexit, and you know my position in this respect. It is near, and I'm well aware that this is on your mind day in, day out. First of all, my position has always been to respect the sovereign choice made by the British people to leave the European Union. I regret it. Had I been a British voter, I would have made a different choice. But I respect democracy and the wishes of peoples, and I therefore believe that we now have to implement this choice. Then, my position consists in protecting and strengthening the European project, the single market, our ability to decide and to build a stronger and more sovereign European Union. This is the reason why I always worked so that we would never weaken this project in our negotiations and the decisions we have to take. Lastly, it is about preserving and deepening the bilateral relationship, which is very much anchored in history and forward-looking. It is against this spirit that the European Union has at length negotiated an agreement, a withdrawal agreement with the United Kingdom. I will not get into the details of this agreement, and it does not belong to any member of the European Union alone to negotiate or to renegotiate this agreement. But I would like to say that the key elements of this agreement, including the Irish backstop, are not just technical constraints or legal quibbling, but indeed some genuine, indispensable guarantees to preserve the stability in Ireland, to preserve the integrity of the single market, which is the foundation of the European project. And this is very much fully part of this accord negotiated by the United Kingdom and the European Union. In addition, the European Union has always said that it was available to discuss, depending on the wishes of the United Kingdom, our future relationship, which in the end is essential as it is about building our future, our joint future. We will discuss all of that together in a minute, but I would like to say, as a friend and as an ally of the United Kingdom, that it belongs to the United Kingdom alone to decide about its destiny, to decide about the way you will leave the European Union and the basis of the future relationship. We are actively preparing for all the possibilities, including that of an exit without an agreement on the 1st of October. It's not the choice of the European Union, but it is our joint responsibility vis-à-vis our fellow citizens, vis-à-vis our territories and our companies. And we have already prepared for that. But I know, no matter what, that the future of the United Kingdom, considering our history and our values, cannot but be European. Our geography speaks by itself, and I can say with confidence that the future will confirm it beyond the uncertainties that can be those of the present. Ladies and gentlemen, such are the few words I wanted to share with you. Once again, I'm extremely pleased to host Boris Johnson and Prime Minister. Very pleased to have you.
Merci beaucoup. Merci, Monsieur le Président. Merci, Emmanuel. Je suis ravie d'être ici à Paris.
In view of what you've just said and in view of your remarks overnight about Brexit, I want to come straight to that particular point. I want to make it absolutely clear to you, Emmanuel, to the French people, that of course I want a deal. And I think we can get a deal, and a good deal. And I was powerfully encouraged by our conversations last night in Berlin with our mutual friends. And I know that with energy and with creativity and application, we can find a way forward for all our businesses and our citizens. But as you yourself have just pointed out, Emmanuel, it is vital for trust in politics that if you have a referendum, then you should act on the instructions of the voters. And that is why we must come out of the EU on October the 31st, deal or no deal. And then, of course, we can take our relationship forward. And when I say take it forward, I agree with you wholeheartedly, Emmanuel, that it is a quite extraordinary friendship. At this moment in Mali, French troops are being conveyed in British helicopters as we work together to fight terrorism in the Sahel. As we stand here together side by side at the Elysee, British troops and French troops are side by side in Estonia protecting the eastern borders of NATO. And when Assad's regime used chemical weapons against his own people, it was Britain and France together with our American friends who showed the collective revulsion of the West in taking out those chemical weapons facilities. Together, we built the world's first supersonic passenger aircraft. We built a tunnel under the Channel. And today, we're actually collaborating on genomics that hold out the hope of curing the world's most intractable diseases. At your G7 in Biarritz that you're chairing, which I'm sure will be a great success, Monsieur le Président, the UK and France will work hand in glove, coude à coude, to tackle climate change, to tackle the tragic loss of species and biodiversity, and as you rightly say, to ensure that every girl in the world gets 12 years of quality education. And I think whatever happens with Brexit, it is our joint ambition, UK and France, that we should deepen and intensify our economic interpenetration. And just as French buses, I'm proud to say, ply the streets of London thanks to the unique openness of the UK economy. It is also a stunning fact that your beautiful TGVs run on steel railways made in Scunthorpe by British Steel. Not a lot of people know that. In fact, the British ambassador didn't know that until I just told him. But there could be no more powerful metaphor, I think, for the cultural, the economic, the political partnership between our countries. And I'm proud to say that in spite of some of the negative predictions over the last 3 years, our capital city in London remains one of the biggest French cities on earth. And long may it so remain. And I know that, of course, Monsieur le Président, you will want to treasure and support the hundreds of thousands of British citizens living here in France, as much as we in the UK will treasure and support the 3.2 million EU nationals, including French citizens, in our country. So let's get Brexit done. Let's get it done sensibly and pragmatically and in the interests of both sides. And let's not wait until October the 31st. Let's get on now in deepening and intensifying the friendship and the partnership between us over lunch, which will follow shortly.
Excellent. Je crois qu'on va prendre 2 questions.
Prime Minister, Libby Wiener, ITV News. What does leaving without a deal actually mean? Does it mean trading on WTO rules for the long term? Or is it effectively back to square one with more negotiations? And in that sense, isn't no deal a bit of a con?
Well,
and Monsieur,
sorry.
Monsieur le Président, Angela Merkel showed some flexibility in Berlin last night over the question of changing the Irish backstop. Don't you think you should cut the new British Prime Minister a bit of slack as well?
Well, thank you very much, Libby. Of course, as you know, a great deal of work has already been done to ensure that the transition on October the 31st is as smooth as it possibly can be, and so there are already agreements on aviation, on financial services, many other sectors. And what we want to do now, between in the next 71 days or whatever is remaining, we want to make sure that we do all the necessary work on both sides of the channel to make sure that whether we get an agreement or not, our exit is as smooth and as pain-free as possible for citizens and businesses on both sides. And that's what we're going to do.
Regarding your question, I said it very clearly by way of an introduction. The backstop, the Irish backstop, as we call it, is a point which has been negotiated in the context of the operation, given the geography of Ireland and the past political situation. So it is an important element which allows us, first of all, to guarantee the stability in Ireland and also the integrity of the single market. These are our 2 goals. When we talk about flexibility, well, let me be very clear with you. These 2 goals have to be met. And we therefore have to find a solution that guarantees the integrity of the single market. We have to be able to guarantee to the companies, to the citizens, to the consumers in Europe that we comply with the rules of the European Union, and whatever comes in on the market, it comes from a market which is no longer in the European Union, is controlled. Then there are previous agreements, the Good Friday Agreement. There is also the political and historical situation and the relationship between your country and Ireland. And we therefore have to respect what was negotiated in this respect. And within the context of the past negotiations, we should be able to do some work. As to the first question, please allow me to underline something. We talk about the withdrawal agreement, but no matter what, there will be also negotiation as to the future relationship. It will be another step, and we always handle things in the right order.
Oui, si vous me...
Very clear, Monsieur le Président, that under no circumstances, when you look at the border with Northern Ireland, I'm just repeating a point that bears repeating, under no circumstances will the UK government be imposing checks or controls of any kind at that border. And we think, and I understand your desire to protect the integrity of the single market. Of course we understand that. But we think that there are ways of protecting the integrity of the single market and allowing the UK to exit from the EU whole and entire and perfect, as it were. And that is what we, and it was very interesting to hear some of the positive noises that we're now hearing about the ways that can be done. We look forward to developing those thoughts in the next few weeks.
Monsieur le Président, Henri Momtaz de Politico, est-ce que vous êtes sur la même ligne que la chancelière allemande, qu'on peut trouver une alternative au backstop en 30 jours? Et Monsieur le Premier ministre, quelle est votre alternative au backstop?
Ce que la chancelière Merkel
said yesterday, and which is in compliance, which is very much in line with the discussions we've had from the very beginning, is that we need visibility in 30 days. So I just answered as to the reality of the backstop. And I believe that this also matches the goal of Prime Minister Johnson. No one will wait until the 31st of October to find the right solution. But if we fail to find the right solution, of course we could not do whatever it takes at the last minute. So we will make the most of this period of time, and Michel Barnier will be part of that, the European negotiator, trying to find solutions without totally reshuffling the withdrawal agreement, because there has always been a lot of work and it's been approved by the 27. On this point, just like Chancellor Merkel, I'm also very much confident that collective joint intelligence, we should always be able, all together, be able to find something smart within 30 days if there's goodwill on both sides, and I believe there is. I've always been presented as the hard boy in the band, in the group. But it's just that I've always been clear. A choice has been made, and a choice was made, and we cannot just ignore it. We will have to implement a decision taken by the British people and cannot walk around it. And I want to be efficient, and so this is what I said last spring and in the past. I very much want all of us to find a solution. That being said, I can be very clear. We will not find a new withdrawal agreement within 30 days, which will be very different from the existing one. It is just that what Michel Barnier has negotiated can be amended while complying with the integrity of the single market and the two goals I mentioned. Then we can find a solution. If not, it's probably a political issue, a political decision to be taken by the Prime Minister. It will not be our decision.
Very clearly that what I think what Angela Merkel was saying last night, if I got her correct, I think I was standing next to her. She said, if we can do this in 2 years, then we can do this in 30 days. And I admire that can-do spirit that she seemed to have there. And I think she's right. I think that the technical solutions are readily available, and they've been discussed at great length. You can have trusted trader schemes. You can have electronic pre-clearing for goods moving across the border. I just want to repeat one crucial thing. Under no circumstances will the UK be putting checks at the frontier, and we don't think it's necessary from the point of view of the EU to do that to protect the integrity of the single market. We think there are other ways of doing that. We've got, I think, adequate time to do it. Let's get on and do it. As I say, there are all sorts of proposals that have already been made. I might direct you to an excellent paper that has been done by Greg Hands and other MPs in Westminster from all parties that goes through some of the ways in which you can check for contraband, check for rules of origin, check for stop smuggling, but not have checks at the frontier. That's the solution. And where there's a will, there's a way.
Merci beaucoup. Let's work.
S'il vous plaît. Je vais vérifier tout ce qui se passe. Ouais. Très bien. Ah mais ça c'est pas ma faute à moi.
J'ai pris 3 coups de coude, un coup d'appareil photo.
Puis en plus Anthony il voulait être face au président.
Ah mais j'entends bien, On est bien d'accord qu'il ne change pas de côté.
Ça je sais pas. Il change pas de côté.
On laisse comme ça.
Oui, revenir. Je vais aller voir ce qui se passe de l'intérieur.